Warning: the following show is not scripted, is not rehearsed, and will contain some waffling. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, boys, girls, of all creeds, colours, faiths, opinions, and beliefs, welcome to George's Head. Today, we'll be talking about the substantive question, what is philosophy? I'm a philosophy student studying in London, and when I tell people I'm studying philosophy, they often confuse it with psychology. In fact, today I was taking my dog for a walk, and I met a man who asked what I was studying, and I said I was working at a kennels while I was studying at uni, and he asked what I was studying, and I said I'm studying philosophy, and he said I had a sister who studied dog psychology. And I think this is just because most people really don't know what philosophy actually is. They know of some philosophers, they'll heard of Plato or Nietzsche or Aristotle or Socrates, but they won't know what philosophy is as a verb, because I didn't before I knew what it was. I didn't know what it was, which is, it's a truism, but it's very I really had no idea what philosophy was as a verb. And now, to explain it to people, I generally say that philosophy is to thought what structural engineering is to architecture. You need to be a fantastic structural engineer, or at least be a competent structural engineer, in order to create the plans for beautiful architecture. And you really need to have a really good understanding of how to create individual and correct thought before you start trying to create beautiful thoughts. By beautiful thoughts, I mean really anything that's well put together, any thought that's well put together and not logically flimsy or unreasonable or, just standardly standardly borrowed from the crowd, which isn't to say that all commonly held beliefs or thoughts are bad. It's just that there are some, like platitudes, generally. But to me, thoughts are very structural things, like buildings, which is why I often compare the two, because they both have to stand up against adversity. Buildings have to stand up against earthquakes and weather and general use, and thoughts have to stand up against the world, because we generally try and represent the world with thoughts. And I think it's very important to make clear just what philosophy is, because I think because people don't realise that philosophy is the art of, really, it's the art of constructing good thought. It's viewed very much as a sort of airy-fairy, almost like a meaningless kind of metaphysical, sort of self-indulgent journey into a sort of a metaphysical journey into sort of self-indulgence, something meaningless for the real world, whereas, and it couldn't be further from the truth, because, what's more meaningful in relation to the real world than all of our thoughts and the way we think? I mean, how can we live a good life? And how can we improve people's lives if we don't know how to make good thoughts? So I'd like to put this out there, because I don't think there's a good enough common definition of what is philosophy, of what philosophy is. I mean, if you look up in the dictionary what philosophy is, it says something along the lines of philosophy, the study of truth, which is, I suppose, to say that if you study truth, you'll have a better idea of what truth is, and therefore you'll have a better thought about what truth is. However, I think that maybe if there was a better definition of philosophy as a type of, because you're not studying truth as such. You're constructing thoughts, as in you're constructing concepts which happen to be held in the mind and thus are thoughts. But you're constructing concepts to apply to the world and to test in the world and to feed to science, indeed, in some sense, so that you can find out which concepts are more closely represent how the world really is. And that's a unachievable task in a sense, because we don't have a one-to-one connection with the world, because we are basically brains in a skull, and there are no windows in a skull, which is something that we often don't notice, because we have this view out of our eyes, and we seem to see the world in a very connected one-to-one. By one-to-one, I mean a kind of first person. The world is here, and we are in here, and we seem to have this first-person connection to the world, whereas really, what we are, the I that I talk about when I refer to myself, is completely disconnected from the outside world physically, because I am in my skull, and my skull it's not like my eyes are plates of glass between my brain and the outside world. There is no window behind my eyes. My eyes are solid objects. Light hits them and is converted into signals, which are then passed through, fibers, basically, into my skull. My brain is not looking out of a window when it sees through my eyes. Because, we say, see through my eyes. Well, I don't see through my eyes. My eyes provide sight, but I'm not seeing through them like we look through a window. If I smash a window, there's nothing separating the inside from the outside, and that's not the case with the brain and the outside world. The brain will always be in the skull, and if I break my eyes, it's not going to be the case that my brain is any closer to the outside world. My skull is a solid object that encapsulates my brain. And because of that, we must construct concepts and see if then we can move in a certain way in the world such that it confirms those concepts. I assume there's a microphone in front of me, and I talk, and when I'm done talking, I'll move my hand and I'll press a button, and that will stop the recording. And through that, I will conclude that there was a microphone in front of me, and I'll press play, and that will confirm it even more. And so I'll test my theory of the world that way. We do need to keep a handle on the idea that thoughts, and indeed thinking properly, as in knowing how to construct really strong and decent logical concepts of the world, is in some sense the most important thing we can do. It's the most important thing we should know how to do, indeed. Because without that, we cannot function in the world. We can't provide security for ourselves. We can't provide security for anyone else, any other being. We can't guarantee or safeguard our own well-being. So it really is a very important thing. I think I'll leave it there for this. This is the first episode, after all, of George's Head, and but I'll be interested to read any comments that you want to leave on this. Yeah, I think that's about it. So if you like the channel, and if you like the 2 videos that I've posted so far, and if you're interested in this kind of philosophical thought, then like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and wait for the next one. This is George Stewart, wishing you a good day.